A man sleeps with the one he can, but he becomes obsessively attached to the woman who awakens that one feeling in him. And no, it's not what you're thinking right now. Forget everything you believe you know about attraction. Forget the glossy magazines, the endless advice from friends, the scripted romances of Hollywood. We're not talking about a secret technique in bed. Not about a flawless body or a perfectly symmetrical face. Not even about being the most entertaining woman in the room. That's the beginner's game, the surface level. Yes, it might catch some glances, but looks are cheap currency. They vanish faster than they appear. What we're diving into today is something far deeper. Something invisible. A hidden switch in the brain. A neurological mechanism buried in the oldest part of a man's mind. It's a switch so powerful, so ancient that it can, within seconds, distinguish between an ordinary encounter and a mental dependency. Have you ever wondered why the man who seemed so interested suddenly turned cold as ice? Why you gave everything, your affection, your attention, your brilliance, and still, he chose someone else? Or maybe you've asked the hardest question of all. Why do some women, without trying too hard, manage to trigger an almost irrational loyalty in men? While you feel like you have to fight for every ounce of attention, the answer lies not in what you do, but in what you trigger in him. The real question isn't, how can I make a man desire me? Physical desire is easy. That's instinct. It's primal. The real life-changing question is this. How can you make it so that he can't get you out of his head? What is this mental, invisible, and silent drug that separates women who are liked from women, who are unforgettable? What I'm about to reveal isn't a seduction trick. It's a secret of male psychology, confirmed by neuroscience, shaped by evolutionary biology. A concept that, once you understand it, gives you quiet, unshakable power. Because the male body always follows the mind. And his mind, believe me, is not searching for what everyone else is offering. He's looking for something much rarer. Something you probably already have within you, but haven't yet learned how to use. Stay with me. You will never look at attraction the same way again. We're standing before a paradox, one that haunts millions of women. On one hand, pop culture tells you that to attract a man, you need an entire catalog of traits. Beauty, charm, humor, a toned body, sensuality, good sex. It's a checklist so long that it turns you into a product. A performance, an endless project. So you try. You invest time, energy, emotion. You perfect your appearance, your posture, your smile. You learn to say the right things, to seem effortlessly interesting. And yet, despite all that effort, something strange happens. Relationships that looked perfect on paper fall apart. Men lose interest in women who seem like a perfect 10. And at the same time, we see women who don't fit that mold. Not the prettiest. Not the most outgoing, not the most polished. And yet they inspire devotion so deep it borders on obsession. Why? Because we've been trying to open the wrong door. For decades, our focus has been on the door of physical attraction. The body, the visible, the superficial. And in the process, we've completely ignored the existence of another door. A door much more important, much better guarded. The door to the male mind. That's where the key lies. That's where the difference is decided. Between one night and a lifelong bond. Between the woman who is an option and the woman who is a priority. Between being one of many and being the only one. And here's the truth. All of that is decided not in bed, not in his eyes, not in his hands, but in the quiet, invisible battlefield of his mind. Inside his brain, there's a filter, a gatekeeper, extremely selective, ruthlessly efficient. This gatekeeper receives every interaction with you and makes a brutal binary decision. He decides whether the experience is interchangeable, something pleasant but fleeting, stored in short-term memory and soon forgotten, or whether it contains something else, something special, something that marks it as decisive. When that happens, the experience passes through the filter, becomes anchored in long-term memory, and more importantly, it activates the centers for deep desire and reward. That's when you become unforgettable. The problem is that most common seduction strategies only try to please that gatekeeper, temporarily. Enough for one night, maybe a week, but they have no idea how to deliver the secret ingredient that opens the main door. That's why understanding this isn't just important, it's liberating. Because when you finally understand it, you stop running the exhausting race for outer perfection. You stop trying to be someone else. You stop competing with the illusion of what you think men want. You begin to focus your energy on what truly matters. The kind of connection that lasts. So, what is this secret ingredient? What is the chemical composition of this mental drug, the element that makes him crave not your body, but your presence? It's not passion. It's not mystery. It's not beauty. The word is admiration. Now maybe that surprises you. Maybe it even sounds a little unromantic. Admiration? That's something you feel for a mentor, not for a lover, right? And yet, that's exactly where its secret power hides. To understand why admiration is the true fuel of male desire, we have to take a quick journey into the male mind, into his most basic programming. Because a man, by nature, is wired to seek, to strive, to conquer. Not just physically, but in status, in purpose, in life. He has an innate need to feel competent, to be good at something, to create, to protect, to provide meaning through achievement. Physical attraction is just the spark. It's I want her. It's one-sided, superficial, temporary. It can appear in an instant and vanish just as quickly. But admiration changes everything. The moment a man admires you for something beyond your looks, for your intelligence, your integrity, your wit, your calm in chaos, your passion for something that's uniquely yours, something happens inside him. On a chemical level, his desire transforms. It shifts from I want her to am I good enough for her? And right there, the balance of power changes. He is no longer the hunter chasing prey. He is a man standing before a woman with her own world, her own value, her own light. You are no longer simply a desire. You become an inspiration. And that feeling is magnetic. It's the difference between I want to have her and I want to become worthy of her. Because physical desire wants to possess. Admiration wants to merge. He doesn't just want to touch you. He wants to understand you. He wants to stand beside you. He wants to rise to meet you. And that right there is the moment his mind begins to anchor you in his memory. Not as a passing attraction, but as a symbol of something far deeper. That's the beginning of the transformation. Admiration, a word that sounds almost too simple to hold such power. And yet, it is the single most potent force that rewires a man's desire from fleeting to eternal. Because when a man admires a woman, something profound happens inside him. His entire system, his focus, his energy, his emotions reorient around her. Not because she demands it, but because his own biology insists on it. Let's look at why. From an evolutionary perspective, men are programmed to pursue meaning through mastery, to build, to conquer, to prove. In the ancient past, it was the hunt. In the modern world, it might be his career, his goals, his ambitions. But the drive is the same. He wants to feel effective in the world. He wants to look at his reflection and believe he has purpose. When you, a woman, awaken admiration in him, not through flattery, but through authenticity, you activate that core instinct. Suddenly he sees you not as a goal, but as a mirror reflecting the man he wants to become. And that reflection can be intoxicating. Think about it. When he meets a woman who makes him feel powerful, alive, capable, not because she inflates his ego, but because her presence challenges him, he can't walk away. Not because of control, not because of games, but because you've tied your image to his own self-evolution. That's what admiration does. It doesn't scream, look at me. It whispers, look at yourself through me. And the paradox here is beautiful. The moment you stop trying to impress him, you start to influence him. The moment you stop performing for his attention, you begin to hold his fascination. Because genuine admiration can't be faked. And men, on a subconscious level, can sense authenticity like animals sense fear. He doesn't crave your approval. He craves your respect. When he feels that you see something in him worth respecting, something real, something that resonates with your own values, he starts to associate you with that rare feeling of being seen, not for what he shows the world, but for who he truly is underneath. But here comes the trap that so many fall into. If admiration is the spark, competition is the extinguisher. In our attempt to prove we're strong, capable, and worthy, many of us cross a fine line. We slip from admiration into rivalry. We start to debate not to connect, but to win. To correct every word. To show our intelligence as superiority rather than contribution. We forget that what creates attraction is polarity. The dance between masculine and feminine energy, between direction and depth, between movement and stillness. Let me tell you a story. Sophia was brilliant, sharp-minded, ambitious, successful. She had climbed the corporate ladder faster than anyone her age. But love was a battlefield she couldn't win. On every date, she treated conversation like a duel. If he mentioned a recent project, she countered with a bigger one. If he spoke about his travels, she outdid him with stories from 3 continents. If he expressed a belief, she dismantled it with logic until there was nothing left. Sophia thought she was showing her worth, proving she was a woman to be admired. But what her dates felt wasn't admiration. They felt exhaustion. They left the table not thinking, "What a woman," but that felt like an interview. Men weren't intimidated by her success. They were drained by her energy. They didn't feel invited into her world. They felt tested by it. And then something predictable happened. Sophia met a man who didn't challenge her at all. A man who stayed quiet, agreeable, passive. Someone who let her lead everything, decide everything, control everything. At first, she thought she'd finally found peace. But over time, that peace turned to boredom, then resentment. Because the man she thought she wanted, the one who wouldn't be, intimidated, had no fire of his own. He became the proof of her own trap. She had built a world where no polarity could survive. Now let's meet Laura. Equally intelligent, equally successful, but with a different kind of power. When Laura spoke about her achievements, her voice carried passion, not pride. Her stories invited curiosity instead of comparison. And most of all, she was genuinely interested in his world. She didn't compete, she connected. If he talked about his work, she leaned in, not to outdo him, but to understand him. When he shared his opinions, she didn't immediately challenge them. She explored them. Her confidence wasn't cold steel. It was warm fire. And men didn't run from her energy. They were drawn to it. Because she didn't make them feel smaller. She made them want to rise. That's the secret distinction. You never have to dim your light. You only need to make sure your light illuminates, not blinds. But what if, even when you do everything right, when you're warm, passionate, balanced, he still feels threatened? What if your light, your success, your independence, still makes him insecure? This is the moment where the philosophy becomes truly powerful. Because here lies the ultimate test. Should you shrink to make him comfortable? Should you dim your brilliance to soothe his ego? The answer is simple. No, never. And that no isn't anger or arrogance, it's clarity. Because the moment you start making yourself smaller, you enter a spiral of self-betrayal. You begin to hide your opinions, silence your laughter, and suppress your spark. You start molding yourself into what you think he can handle, instead of who you truly are. And soon, attraction dies. Not just his, but yours too. A low-value man feels your light like a vampire feels the sun. It burns. It exposes his fears, his insecurities, his lack of drive. And when that happens, he has only 2 options: grow or pull you down. He might disguise it as jokes, subtle criticisms, or guilt. You're too ambitious. You're too intense. You make me feel small. But what he's really saying is, I'm not ready to rise to your level. And that's not your burden to carry. Because a high-value man, one who's done his own inner work, reacts to your light differently. He's not threatened by your fire. He's drawn to it. He doesn't want to extinguish it. He wants to build beside it. Your success doesn't make him feel inadequate. It makes him inspired. He looks at you and thinks, this is the kind of woman I want by my side. Not because she needs me, but because she chooses me. That's the magnetic paradox of admiration. The same light that repels the wrong man attracts the right one. And here's the deeper truth. Men don't fall in love with perfection. They fall in love with aliveness. with the spark in your eyes when you talk about what you love, with the sound of your voice when it carries conviction, with the energy that says, I am whole, and you are welcome to walk beside me. Because to a real man, there is nothing more captivating than a woman fully in her element. A woman who moves through the world with purpose. A woman who stands firm in her values yet soft in her heart. A woman who doesn't chase validation because her worth is self-evident. That's the kind of woman who becomes unforgettable. So how do you cultivate that energy in your everyday life? How do you stop performing and start embodying admiration itself? The answer begins where most people never look, within you. It starts the moment you stop asking, what do men like? And start asking, what sets my soul on fire? What topic could you talk about for hours? What activity makes you lose track of time? What subject lights up your mind, even when nobody's watching? That's your gold. That's your energy. That's what will draw the right people toward you, not because you're trying to impress, but because you're simply alive. And that aliveness, that inner glow, is what no algorithm, no magazine, and no social script can teach. Now that you understand the power of admiration and how it reshapes the way a man perceives you, the next step is to bring this knowledge into everyday life, not as a performance, not as a strategy, but as a natural expression of who you are when you stop hiding, when you start letting your authentic energy breathe. You see, the most magnetic people aren't the ones trying to impress the room. They're the ones fully present in their own skin. There's an unspoken confidence that radiates from someone who is genuinely absorbed in what they love. It's not loud, not attention-seeking. It's calm, certain, and deeply attractive. So how do you cultivate that presence? It starts by rediscovering your own fire. Forget men for a moment. Forget dating. Forget trying to be the one. Ask yourself, what makes you feel alive? What's that one topic that makes your eyes light up when you talk about it? That one hobby that pulls you into flow so deeply you forget to check your phone? What injustice in the world stirs something fierce inside you? What creative pursuit makes you lose track of time? Those are not small questions. Those are the keys to your inner ignition. Because the same energy that fuels your passions is the energy that will magnetize the right people without effort, without pretense. When a man sees a woman completely absorbed in something meaningful, maybe she's painting, reading, building, writing, studying, debating, something ancient stirs inside him. He's not just seeing a woman. He's witnessing a force of life, and that force is irresistible. It's not because he wants to take it from you. It's because he wants to be near it, to understand it, to feel part of it. This is the quiet power of feminine energy when it's anchored in authenticity. It's not about seduction. It's about transmission. You're not performing. You're radiating. You're not explaining who you are. You're embodying it. When you talk about your passions, don't report them like a list. Let your energy move through your words. Don't say, I like traveling. Say, I love that feeling of stepping off a plane and breathing in a new city. The chaos, the smell, the unknown. Don't say, I like reading. Say, there's this one book that completely rewired how I see the world. Do you feel the difference? One is a fact. The other is a vibe. And that vibe, that emotional aliveness, is what his brain anchors to. Because attraction doesn't come from information. It comes from emotion. And emotion only flows when you're connected to what's real for you. So instead of trying to sound interesting, become interested. Instead of rehearsing clever answers, listen deeply. Instead of filtering your thoughts, speak with conviction. Even if your voice shakes, men don't remember perfect lines. They remember the feeling you gave them. And that feeling is born when you're not afraid to show your real mind, your real passion, your real quirks. Here's another truth. You don't have to pretend to like what he likes. You don't have to mold yourself into his interests or hobbies. If he's into football and you're not, that's okay. Don't fake it. Say, honestly, I don't get the rules, but I love how intense you get when you talk about it. You're not mirroring his world. You're inviting him into yours. And that's the difference between chasing connection and creating chemistry. But chemistry alone isn't enough if you abandon yourself to sustain it. Too often women lose their spark not because men dim it, but because they willingly hand over the match. They start making constant compromises, giving up their hobbies, their solitude, their ambitions, thinking that's what love requires. They start saying yes when they mean no, nodding when they want to challenge, agreeing just to keep the peace. But every time you silence your truth to maintain harmony, you create distance from your own soul. And no relationship can thrive where one person disappears to make the other comfortable. So, protect your fire fiercely. Defend your time for your projects and your passions. Keep your friendships alive. Don't cancel your plans every time he calls. Show him, gently, naturally, that your life is already full, rich and alive before he ever arrived. That's not independence as a slogan. That's self-respect in action. Because here's the paradox. The more complete you are, the more space there is for someone to join you. A relationship built from emptiness breeds dependency. A relationship built from fullness breeds admiration. Now, let's talk about disagreement. So many women fear conflict, thinking it will make them less likable, less feminine, less desirable. But the opposite is true. Disagreement, when expressed with grace and calm strength, creates polarity. It signals that you have a backbone, that you're emotionally mature, that your respect is real, not blind. Say it gently, but say it. I see it differently. I disagree with that. I think there's another angle. Those words carry power. They tell him that your admiration isn't a performance, it's a choice. That you are not there to please. You are there to relate. Because what men crave deep down isn't submission. It's sincerity. And when you stop pretending, when you stop acting smaller than you are, when you bring your full self into the conversation, something magical happens. You become unforgettable. He may not agree with you. He may even argue with you. But long after the conversation ends, he'll remember how he felt in your presence. Challenged, inspired, alive. That's the chemistry of admiration at work. But remember, not every man will stay. Some will leave when faced with a woman who shines that brightly. They'll say you're intimidating, too intense, too much. Let them go, because every man who leaves, for that reason, is saving you years of slow disappointment. He's doing you a favor. He's showing you that he doesn't belong near your fire. Every man who stays, who feels awakened by your energy, who doesn't flinch from your light, that's the man worth building with. That's the one who admires not just your beauty, but your essence. And when that connection happens, it's not built on dependency. It's built on inspiration. Because he's not addicted to you. He's addicted to the best version of himself that you awaken in him. You become a mirror, a muse, a force. He's not chasing you out of fear of loss. He's drawn to you out of the joy of becoming more. That's the true power of admiration. It elevates both people. You're not trying to make him fall in love. You're giving him a reason to rise. That's what separates a temporary spark from a timeless bond. And the moment you understand this, you stop chasing attention and start commanding respect, quietly, effortlessly, naturally. Because your energy says it all. I am not here to be chosen. I am here to choose. So here you are, standing before the quiet mirror of your life. The noise of expectations fading behind you, the faint echo of past doubts slowly dissolving into silence. And there, in that stillness, you finally see her. The woman you've been searching for all along. Not in the reflection of his eyes, not in the whispers of society, but in your own heartbeat. The woman who no longer needs to be chosen because she already chose herself. From this moment on, attraction becomes something different. It's no longer a chase, no longer a performance, no longer a game of masks. It's an energy that radiates effortlessly from the center of who you are. You no longer walk into a room wondering if you're enough. You walk in knowing that your presence is already complete, that your fire is already burning, and that whoever is meant to see its light will find you. They always do. Admiration, the true kind, cannot be manufactured. It cannot be faked, copied, or performed. It is born when authenticity meets courage, when a woman dares to live by her own rhythm, to express her truth even when her voice trembles. Something ancient in the male brain awakens, because admiration isn't about perfection. It's about aliveness. It's about being so vividly yourself that you awaken the sleeping parts of another person just by existing near them. This is why the men who are meant for you will not be frightened by your intensity. They will crave it. They will lean closer, not back away. They will see in your passion not a threat, but an invitation. Because your fire doesn't burn to destroy, it burns to illuminate. And the right man will know that standing next to a flame, like that doesn't mean losing himself. It means finding warmth, meaning, and purpose beside someone who glows from within. The world will tell you to soften, to quiet down, to become easy. Don't. Ease is not the same as peace. Peace comes when you live aligned with your truth, not when you hide it. The woman who ignites admiration doesn't ask for permission to exist. She doesn't seek validation from silence or applause. She simply moves through life as if her steps are music only she can hear. And when she speaks, her words carry weight because they rise from a place of depth, not from a need to please. This is the paradox of real attraction. The moment you stop trying to impress, you begin to inspire. When you no longer contort yourself into the shape of someone else's fantasy, you become unforgettable. Because the human soul doesn't fall in love with perfection. It falls in love with presence. The kind of presence that says, I am here. I am real. I am unafraid to be seen. And yes, some will leave. Some will call you too much, too intense, too opinionated, too alive. Let them. Every departure is a clearing. Every rejection is a silent blessing that redirects you toward the ones who can meet you where you are. Don't dim your light for those who refuse to open their eyes. Let your brightness be the filter that separates the fleeting from the faithful. You are not here to be everyone's cup of tea. You are here to be someone's storm, someone's calm after the storm, someone's awakening. You are here to live a life so vivid that even if no one is watching, you still dance. Because this is the essence of admiration. It starts with self-respect and radiates outward. A man can only admire you to the degree that you admire yourself. So tend to your fire. Feed it with curiosity, with courage, with joy. Read books that challenge you. Learn things no one expects you to learn. Take yourself on adventures. Say yes to what excites your soul and no to what drains it. The more you live, the more magnetic you become. Not because you're chasing attention, but because you've stopped needing it. The fire that burns for its own sake shines the brightest. And one day, without trying, you will meet him. The one who sees your fire not as something to tame, but to join. He won't come with grand gestures or empty promises. He will simply stand there, calm, grounded, looking at you with eyes that say, I see you. He won't want to steal your light. He'll want to build a life around it. You'll feel it in the way he listens, in the way he respects your silence, in the way he admires not just how you look, but who you are when no one's watching. He will not compete with your strength. He will be drawn to it, because strength that is paired with warmth doesn't intimidate. It inspires. He will understand that your independence doesn't exclude him. It welcomes him to walk beside you, not ahead of you or behind you. And in that balance, a new kind of love will be born, one not built on need, but on admiration, respect, and shared growth. But even if that day comes later than you wish, even if it never comes in the way you imagined, remember this: your life is not an audition for love. It is the stage where love learns to find you when you are already shining. Because admiration, the real kind, doesn't chase. It recognizes. It doesn't demand proof. It feels truth. So, every morning when you wake up and face that mirror, ask yourself one question. What would it look like to be fully myself today? Maybe it means saying no to a plan that doesn't excite you. Maybe it means finally starting that project you've been postponing. Maybe it means wearing red lipstick on a Monday, just because you want to. Maybe it means walking away from someone who loves your reflection, but not your fire. Every small act of self-alignment adds another spark to your flame. The world doesn't need more perfect women. It needs more real ones. Women who speak with conviction, love with openness, and live with purpose. Women who build empires not from strategy, but from soul. Women who aren't afraid to be admired for their depth, their dreams, their strength, and their softness. Women who understand that being admirable is not about being adored, it's about being authentic. And maybe years from now, when he remembers you, The one who got away, or the one who stayed. He won't remember your dress, your perfume, or even the details of your smile. He'll remember how he felt in your presence. That quiet awe. That sense of expansion. That moment when he realized he wanted to become a better man. Not for you, but because of you. That's the power of admiration. That's the legacy of a woman who burns bright. So go, live, build, speak, create. And when you do it not to attract, but because it's who you are. Because your light is not a performance, it's a birthright. The fire was never meant to be hidden. Let it rise. Let it shine. Let it draw the right ones in and keep the wrong ones out. Be the lighthouse. Be the warmth. Be the woman whose fire cannot be forgotten. Because beauty may capture the eye, but admiration captures the soul.